It's Chris Watkin back again with Paul Clarke from Mr. and Mrs. Clarke, the estate agency chain. Paul, thanks for joining me today. The question I want to ask you is this: why are estate agents so awful at marketing? Talk to me. Well, the first question I've got to ask is, what kind of marketing are we talking about? Selling houses or marketing themselves?
Well, it's a really good distinction, and personally, I don't think they're very good at either.
Okay, which one do you want to touch on first?
Let's touch on the selling path, the property advertising of property. It was the reason one of the big reasons I set the business up in the first place. I was selling a house in London. We had poured a lot of money into this house, gutted it, done it top to bottom, absolutely loved it. It was a really special home for us. We came to sell. It was before I was involved in estate agency at all. We did the beauty contest of the three agents.
On the sofa?
They eventually, after they'd knocked on a few windows and doors and walls to check, they eventually sat down and produced us all of this paraphernalia. So three agents came round, big international agents, local agents, all this kind of thing. Promised the world we were going to, and I didn't know anything about advertising properties, but we were involved in marketing and obsessed by social media and obsessed by interiors and this kind of thing. And I'm looking around our house thinking, this is a beautiful house. And then we chose the big international agents. We were wooed by lots of promises. He came round with his little camera, which he said it was going to be professional photography. In my world at the time, professional photography was kind of like this setup. And he just took some snaps, shoved it on the portals, shoved it on. I don't even know if it hit his website. The write-up was terrible. It was it wasn't even factual. There were parts of it that were totally wrong. And we sat there and we were really disappointed. And we thought, gosh, this could be done so much better. But we let it go, and sort of after a while, we did quite well with that house. And then we came to buy a house and we moved to Sussex. And we went through the whole process of looking at houses. And I'm looking on Rightmove and I'm looking on estate agents' websites and estate agencies' windows at the time. And I just wasn't, maybe this makes me high maintenance, but I wasn't my breath wasn't taken away by many things. I was really underwhelmed by what was being showcased to me. And I'm a big fan of brands, and there's, be it cars or clothes or things, I like getting carried away with advertising, and I was really disappointed. And you'd go to a viewing feeling really flat, and then the experience of being shown round by the agents of that caricature of country agent, I was really underwhelmed by it. And and eventually we actually rented something down there because we decided we'll live in this village. And I just kept whinging to Alex saying, gosh, the property advertising is really rubbish. I'll keep my words clean. Really rubbish. I reckon we could do better. And I just pestered her. In the end, she just gave in and was like, right, come on then. Shush, let's do it. Let's set our own up. And the focus on Mr. and Mrs. Clarke was always storytelling, beautiful photography, beautiful write-ups, compelling kind of advertising, thinking slightly differently about everything we sell, and tell some stories. Be interesting about it. And that has definitely stood out for us.
Okay, so we can all do twilight photographs, which I love, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, so twilight photographs and proper professional photographs, that's good marketing. When you say tell stories, are we talking about this is where they brought their children up and they had their first bar mitzvah and all that?
Could be. Those sellers' perspectives, I've never been a
So what do you mean by story? Because we want some value for the big boys and girls.
So third house we ever sold was this beautiful sort of farmhouse in rural Warwickshire. And I went there, it was really early on, and we would just thought, right, come on, let's be really brave about this. Our photography still works, so it's fantastic. She was taking the photos, and we started taking photos of the chickens and the cockerels outside. And we thought, you know what, this is surely what they want to be moving up, they want to be keeping their own chickens, they want this big garden. It's not all about the 3,000 square foot interior. That's a bit dry. We need to sell this house. We need to sell this product in a more compelling way.
Not even sell it, get them to buy it.
Just sort of get an emotive.
Okay.
So we took out.
So you take a few pictures of chickens. Come on, give me something.
So
Give me
we
something
took-
for the boys and girls out
Yeah,
there.
so that house, we took a picture of Vulcan, the cockerel. We took a full page advert in the Birmingham Post at the time. We also put an advert in the Evening Standard and did a social media campaign around Vulcan the cockerel, about the good life, about moving to the countryside, that people might not know this little part of Warwickshire that might live in London. This was 5-6 years ago. This was before, well, everyone's been moving to the countryside at different times. So we just focused on this cockerel. We didn't even put anything about the house. So it was almost become a chicken keeper. And it seems ridiculous, but people really enjoyed it. They then went to Rightmove and Zoopla. That's almost the easy bit. The particulars were on there. And they came. And the interesting bit for us, being experience in marketing, we should be an experience-based business. When people came to the door, and I was doing the viewings with someone else, they'd open the door in a really good mood. Where's Vulcan? Where are these chickens you've talked about? It's a gorgeous house, big house. Oh, it's got a garage. Oh yeah, what's the square footage? Oh yeah, what are all the real serious specification facts about this house? They're all on a piece of paper. We can show them then, but to capture that essence of the house.
Can you teach someone how to do this with your self-employed estate agency model then?
Absolutely. And so we do all the copywriting for our agents. We vet the photographers that work with our agents, so we help them find the perfect local
Not every house
photographer.
can have a chicken called Vulcan, can they?
They can't, and unfortunately, he was included in the sale of that house, so they've kept Vulcan. But there's corners of every house. There's stories of every house.
Have you got stories back from Vulcan?
Joe, I haven't gone to see him. I think it would upset me too much. I should. I'm missing a trick.
You are missing a huge trick there. Right. So you help your agents with regard to that to make the houses more personalised.
Yeah.
And telling a story, because every house can't have a Vulcan, but you can spin a story on every house.
And a community they live in. So it's the other bit that I think estate agencies don't do very well.
Okay.
And I know you guys have talked a lot about this on different videos, is we should be championing a community. So we talked, and to give value for the chat, we instead of putting on a local area guide on the bottom of your adverts, 25 minutes to the M40, or can get on the train from London in an hour and 90. That's easy. That's obvious. You can find that on Wikipedia if you want. But what's the guest ale at the pub? What's the local headmistress like? What's who owns the corner shop? I've just helped our copywriter write a property, a home advert, a location advert about a house we're selling in the Cotswolds. And I went to the photo shoot, to do some social media bits and bobs with her. I met the corner shop owner, and he was absolute, just top man. And I was, have you got, it was a lime pickle for a curry. I said, have you got it? He said, no, you local. If you are, I'll get it in. I thought, oh, that's golden. I said, do you mind if we put you in the location advert of that story? So to say the local corner shop owner will get you things in if you move into that's, again, it's just different marketing.
So if I go onto your Rightmove account and look at the properties you're selling and download the brochures, I'll see all this, will I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Right, let's move on. The second part of marketing is attracting vendors to use their agency. Where are agents going wrong there?
So it's the other end of the marketing funnel. So that's the first bit we talked about is right at the coalface, the bottom of the funnel of actually that delivery of selling, of advertising a home. Then it's that lead generation, talking to the people that who own homes but might not be selling it right at this moment. And I think a lot of agencies forget that, and they try and just generate a lead immediately. So put something out there, and then they try and measure it of, right, we did some direct marketing campaign, and one person has got back to us and told us they didn't like our flyer. So there's two bits to this. I think there's a patience element, a long-term element.
So is this not only the lead capture, but the lead nurture, and then the lead conversion?
Absolutely. And it's the brand awareness and being in front of the local people.
Can these things be measured? Or are there certain things in life
really tough? I think, so we'll talk to a lot of agents and we'll do a campaign with them, a brand awareness campaign. How many, and the question is, how many leads have been generated from that? I think, and you can say none. You need to wait. It might be a 6-year process, and you need to be consistent with brand awareness to get to it. It's not just lead generation, and it's not just brand awareness. It has to be a mixture of the two. And that sort of comes in over, how often do people sell their houses? 6 years, 5, 6 years. We need to be talking to our local consumers, the local house sellers, the local homeowners.
But I want it now. I want it now.
So there are direct marketing campaigns.
Door knocking.
There are door knocking. There are social media adverts. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think
because
it's
people want almost the short term that's measurable, but they don't do anything with it. But at least they can see some numbers on a screen, versus the long term stuff, which actually you can't measure. It's a bit like, can you measure the love of your wife? You can't. There is no number. It's just you just have to build that trust. You talked about it in a previous video.
Yeah.
It's all about building trust.
Absolutely. But then you're right, especially when you set up in a brokerage and you run your own business, you want some reassurance that there's numbers, there are conversions, there are leads. We sort of say it's sort of a 60-40 split in the marketing budget. 60% being long-term brand awareness work, and then that 40% of your marketing budget should be spent on, be it door knocking or delivery of flyers or sponsorship of local fairs. Although that's sort of a bit more of a long-term thing, you want to be doing it. But we work with our agents on their bespoke marketing plan of a 60-40 split. But then talking about why agencies or agents are not great at marketing, it's also the messaging that goes out, the tone of voice, what they're actually saying. So we're talking about flyers. To people, I think people do, unfortunately, free valuation. I can offer you a free valuation, and it just doesn't engender trust, those kind of things.
Well, because the intent is I want to get something from you.
Absolutely, and I know you.
I bang on. I think
you do, and I think it's great.
I think estate agents should, instead of talking about themselves, just like the person at the party talks about themselves, we all know what we think to them, is why don't you actually give them something of value, like what's actually happening in their local property market to house prices.
Absolutely. And that comes back to what the lady at Dataloff was saying about understanding a local market. So if that is a way to build trust up and sell
look at the home moving buyer survey of 20,000 homeowners every single year, done by the Property Academy. That one of the biggest things is people who know the market. It's what I'm going to go with that.
Absolutely. Both know the local property market, prices, transactions, but also know the local area. And this is the magic of the franchise model, of the franchise industry, because you have a local person who should know. And so we only work with people who are invested in their local area, local community. Again, this isn't new. Estate agents forever have talked on the golf course, at the pub, at the school gate. Okay. That they know that local area.
But with your franchise model, which again, this video is not for that.
No.
You're just giving them the basically the collective hive mind of what's working elsewhere, and they can implement it in their own area.
Absolutely, and doing things differently. I think maybe not
necessarily different for different sake, but different which means something to your recipient, which is the person viewing the content.
Yeah, and if people have been distrustful of estate agents and they're actually saying it, why are estate agencies still doing the same thing with their marketing? Because
they were taught that 20 years ago and they've not been changed.
Estate agents are set up by estate agents, and to work with even if you independent estate agents out there work with a branding agency or a marketing agency, there's a real value in that.
Thank you for your time today, Paul.
Pleasure.